Good afternoon. This is Kathy Neifeld with Agency One. We are expecting quite a few more people to be dialing in. We are going to start in 2 minutes at 4:02. So please bear with us for the next 120 seconds. Oh, now it's 4:01, 60 seconds. Thanks so much. We'll be right back to you in 1 minute. Thank you. And we watch the clock go to 4:02. Okay. All righty then. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get this webinar started. For those of you that do not know me, I am Kathy Neifeld, one of 4 principals at Agency One. Along with my partners Ed Lesher, Dennis Bartos, and Gonzalo Garcia, we are pleased to welcome everyone to the 3rd installment of Agency One's 2021 bi-weekly webinar series. This webinar will focus on digital marketing tools and resources. For those of you that are new to Agency One, a brief introduction. We are a very high-touch exclusive brokerage general agency. Exclusive, what does that mean? We have a platform called the Agency One 100, and one of our guiding principles is to work with a small, select group of advisors in a very large, meaningful way. The advisors that are part of this group are like-minded, highly successful, creative, and driven. We focus on life insurance and fixed annuities. If you have other needs, like disability insurance or life settlements or standalone long-term care, we have strategic relationships with the best providers in the industry to refer you to. We truly have the premier underwriting department in the industry, led by my partner Dennis, and advanced markets and case design departments, led by my partner Gonzalo. If you want high-touch, personalized attention, advocacy, and want to feel like you and your cases are important, then Agency One is or should be your brokerage general agency. If you would like to learn more about us, the Agency One 100 platform, and how you can become a part of it, or have a case you would like to discuss, please reach out to me, Gonzalo, Dennis, or Ed. I have some important announcements about what Agency One has planned for the next few weeks, and I will be sharing them with you at the end of the webinar. Now I would like to introduce our speaker for today's session, Samantha Russell. Samantha helps financial advisors create digital marketing strategies that help produce explosive growth through website development, content marketing, SEO, social media, and video. A prolific speaker and content contributor, she often appears on stage at financial conferences in the pages of well-known industry publications. She is an Investment News 40 Under 40 award winner and was recently named to the quote 10 to watch end quote list by wealthmanagement.com in 2020. Samantha will try to respond to any questions that have been asked during and at the end of the presentation. So please submit your questions through the question feature, and we will be monitoring them as they are submitted. This session is being recorded. So I would like to now turn this over to Samantha. Please take it away. Samantha, I can't hear you. There you go.
There we go. I was trying to make sure while I was typing in the chat box, it wasn't loud. So thanks everybody for having me. And while you know, we're just getting started here, what I would love to know, because it's hard to interact with people when everyone's behind the screen, is in the chat box, tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the marketing that you currently are doing? What do you feel like it is? 10 being the best and 1 being, you know, the worst. 1 to 10 in the chat box. Let's see what everybody is rating themselves in terms of how they're doing with marketing, and we'll get started. So today we're talking about what the financial advisors that we work with who are getting the most clients from their digital marketing have in common? And it's a topic that I think is really fascinating because we've been able to draw some really interesting conclusions that you will all really be able to learn from. So one of the things you're going to find in these findings, because we did a survey in order to really uncover what these trends were, is that getting personal and sharing more of your personality in your digital marketing online is crucial to actually generating new business. And that's really because if you think about when you meet people in your normal offline world, you don't dive right in and say, so I'm an advisor and so I can help you with this. And here's what I tell clients about investments. And here's how you should handle insurance, right? You might say to them, so where did you grow up? And oh, what do you like to do? Oh, you're going on vacation to this place. So sharing personal stories and uncovering, more about yourself will help build that rapport. So I'm going to start us off by doing that here today and telling you a little bit about myself. So this is a picture of me and my husband, Ryan, and our two children, Hudson and Grace. Grace is the one that has that beautiful sourpuss face right there. This picture is just about a year old. Actually, I need to update it. So they are now 2 and 5. But if you are on LinkedIn or Twitter, I really would love for you to connect with me on those platforms because I share daily really great tips, strategies, interesting research, all about digital marketing specific for financial services and insurance professionals. So not a single person has shared in the chat unless I just can't see it.
Let me tell you, they put it in the question. It looks like they range from -3 up to a 7 or so.
Okay, good to know.
So there you go. Work with that.
I was gonna say, I couldn't see in the chat box. So the question's awesome. All right, so there's the -3. I love people who can make me laugh. So what we're going to hopefully do today are not only give you some philosophical ways to think about marketing, but tried and true strategies that are working for other people that you can actually leave here and implement, right? Because learning about how things work is great, but we all want to be able to actually implement it in our own businesses tomorrow. So first, let's just take a step back though and talk about what everybody is always talking about, which is most people say, oh, I get all of my business from referrals. And that's true. Most advisory firms, the majority of their new business still comes from referrals. But the way those referrals happen today has drastically changed. And I call this trend the digital referral shift. And this is what it looks like. When somebody wants to find someone to help them with being a financial advisor, they don't necessarily wait until they're going to run into somebody at a gathering or call someone up and ask them. They might text a group of their 5 golfing buddies, or they go onto Facebook and they say, hey, I'm looking for an advisor, someone that you trust, or they put out a group email to the 8 people they lived with in college. We source the information of what we're looking for, usually in mass. And then what happens? You can see in both of these examples here for Patricia and Liz, over 31 and 22 people then commented below saying, here's who I use, or I've been working with this person for a long time. And they link right to their websites, or in this case, they link to their Facebook page or their LinkedIn page. So what do you think Liz or Patricia in this case is going to do? Do you think that they're actually going to go and look at all 31 websites and call every single person and make an appointment to meet with all of them to vet them? Absolutely not, right? They're going to think about who do they trust the most of the people that are making the recommendations, and who of those sites that they go look at wows them the most or resonates most with the problems that they have. And those are the people they're going to book meetings with. So maybe 2 or 3. What we find is that the financial advisory firms that are not prioritizing their LinkedIn page, their Facebook page, their website are losing out. They're going out of the running before they even have the opportunity to have that first meeting because of the way this process works. So another way to put it is, would you give your life savings to someone without typing their name into Google? This is a quote from Michael Kitces. And, it's becoming more and more prevalent, just like anything else, that when we want to find a service or a solution, we go online and we Google it. And what is really interesting is the Bank of New York Mellon Pershing did a study just in 2018, the end of 2018, and they asked over 1,000 investors across all income levels. So these were ultra high net worth, middle income. How do you find and research an advisor? And you can see the #1 place people went to was Google. And after that was LinkedIn. And after that was Facebook. So these online platforms is where not only where people are spending a lot of their time for entertainment or for getting knowledge, but also where they're going to investigate an advisor that they might want to work with. So just make sure I didn't skip a slide. Okay. So if you're thinking about that, right, you want to think about what is the first impression that your website then is making. If your website is the first place that people are landing to learn all about you and your business during this digital referral shift process, what's that first impression that your site is making? If you go and you pull up your website and you send it to people, what are they seeing? This is a website of a current customer of ours, their old website. So this is the before and after process. And you can see, right, there's so much sort of wasted space on the sides. There's so much text. There's not a really strong value proposition on this website. When you want to redo your website, or you're thinking about what makes for a good first impression, the first thing that I want you to go back and look at your website and eliminate is as much text as possible. And that's because we do not read the internet. We do not read digital words on a screen the way we read a book. We don't start at the upper left and go, every single line. Think about your own interactions, which most of them happen nowadays right on our phones. We scroll and we scan until something catches our eye, and then we stop and we pay attention to it, and then we keep scrolling. So to give you an example here, this is an actual website where this person, if you were to read it, the copy's great, but what they're saying is, we'll act as your family's CFO. And they're saying it in 4 different paragraphs here, right? Let's juxtapose this with this website that we built for Allison Wealth Management, where you are getting the exact same message, but just through a visual. So why do it yourself when we can help? Think about how much quicker you're able to process that graphic, right? So our brains actually process imagery 60,000 times faster than text. So when someone lands on your website and they're confronted with one of those last 2 examples I just showed you with all that text, it's a big task for them to sit there and try to parse through all of that information. So what I'm going to share with you today are some really, really simple strategies that you can use on your website, in your social media marketing, that will help you go from those first 2 examples to the second example to make you a more effective marketer. And a lot of what I'm going to share isn't just my opinion, but it's backed up by research we here at 20 Over 10 have done. So in 2019, we did this effectiveness of digital marketing for financial advisors trend survey. It's a mouthful, where we asked a group of advisors to answer a bunch of survey questions about how many leads they were getting every year, how many of those leads were qualified, how many of those leads turned into customers, how often they were updating their website or adding fresh content, do they post to social media, all these different things. And then we asked them for their website URL. So we bucketed them into how successful they were in generating leads and clients. And then we went back and looked at the websites of everybody. And so what did the websites and the social media look like for people who are all the way over here doing really great versus all the way over here getting no leads or clients from their digital marketing? And we were able to pull out these 6 takeaways that are, I think, incredibly insightful. So the 2 highest buckets that you could get, or you could say that you were getting, of new clients per year from digital marketing was either 6 to 10 in our survey or 11 or more. And so what we found were that the advisors who reported getting 6 to 10 or 11 or more new clients per year from digital marketing had these 6 things in common. And we're going to go through all of them in this presentation, but the #1 is having a calendar link right on every page of your website. Number 2 is making sure your website and blog are able to be found online, so being SEO friendly. Number 3 was updating your website at least 2 times a month or being part of a network that drives traffic for you. Number 4 is having your website language written in a problem solution format. Number 5 is incorporating video. And number 6 is including a as seen on section to boost credibility. So we're going to dive into all 6 of those one by one. Okay, so this is kind of the easiest one, I think. It's incredibly makes so much sense when you stop and think about it, but yet so many people still do not do this. So if you do not have a calendar link on every single page of your website where someone can just, land on your page and click to book a meeting with you, you will be losing potential leads. And that's because think about the way in your own life, if you're interested in something, maybe you read an article and then you have a conversation with your spouse or your partner, and all of a sudden you're like, yes, this is something I need to do. I got to take care of this. And you go to the website to set it up and they don't have a way for you to book an immediate time. So you have to write an email explaining what you're interested in talking with them about or why you're there. And you start to think, oh my gosh, it's so late. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm just going to do this tomorrow. But then you never do. But if you can just book a meeting and then in the meeting invite, you give your time, your name, you'll have a time booked to talk to them about this later. It's so powerful. And all of these tools, Acuity, Calendly, Schedule Once, are really easy to integrate with every page of your website, and they can kind of follow the user as you go through the site, making it really, really easy to capture that interest. I was going to click on the link thinking it would open in a new page, but since it didn't, we'll keep going on. So that's really simple. If anyone has any questions about which calendar integrations that I suggest, please let me know and I'd be happy to discuss. At the 20/10 website platform, which we can talk a little bit more later, we have a one-click integration with Calendly just because we find it is the easiest user-friendly experience. And if you have a firm with multiple advisors, they can each have their own link as well as have a firm link, and you can round robin the leads. So that works really nicely. So number 1, have a calendar link on every page of your site. All right, so number 2 is making sure that your website and your blog are what I like to call SEO friendly. And so what do I mean by this? If you Google your company name right now, number 1, do you see this little section to the right? And that little section here is called Google My Business. And what Google My Business does, it allows your any of your prospects, your customers, your clients to go directly to your website, to get directions to your firm, to look at photos, to see a map, to see your hours of operation, to call you. And it also, the companies that fill out their Google My Business profiles are the companies that are typically prioritized in the search engine ranking. So what I mean by that is Google is more likely to show Russell Investing if I have filled out the Google My Business page than another shop down the street who has not. So again, Google your business and look and see, do you have this section, a nice robust section? If you don't, you can claim it and fill it out. And we have a great article all about how to claim and optimize your Google My Business listing. But that is number 1 takeaway when you leave here today. If you don't have your Google My Business page claimed and optimized, you absolutely want to. And I'm just going to show you one more thing. If you were to Google any of these companies, you can see the Google reviews are also listed here. With the new SEC ad rule going into effect, there's been a lot of talk about reviews and getting reviews, right? This is really interesting because now you'll, all the reviews will live here in your Google My Business listing as well. So number 1 tip, make sure that you're claiming and optimizing your business on Google. So you're telling the search engine what your business is all about. What could be better than that? You also want to do this mobile friendly test, and we will make sure everybody has the slides when we're done. But the Google mobile friendly test, you'll put in your website URL and it will tell you if Google thinks your site is not mobile friendly. And if it isn't, that is a big no-no, because think about how much time we spend on our phones. If your website isn't mobile friendly, Google's not going to show it to people when they're on their phone. They'll show it to them on their laptops and their desktops, but not on their phone. So you want to make sure that your site is mobile friendly, and you can click on this mobile friendly test and it will tell you whether it's mobile friendly and also how to fix it if it isn't.
Hey,
And then
Samantha?
Yep.
It's Kathy. So there are some questions that have come in. So as you're going through your presentation, I just wanted to kind of orient you towards one of the questions, and I know it applies to a number of our producers, is that a fair number of them have clients that are, we'll call it 60 or older. And the question that's come in is there anything that you're talking about that you would change or should be geared in a certain way towards a specific age demographic? Or is what you're saying apply to whatever the age demographic is? So keeping in mind that, we've got all different sorts of categories of ages that folks are dealing with, and some are more savvy, obviously, from a technology standpoint than others. So I just wanted to share that question with you.
It's a good point. And I think that there's a couple things I will say about this. Number one, if you're trying to get other clients that are in that age group, and you're thinking about what the last year has done. I mean, I know my mom, she's 65. And in the last year, she learned how to Zoom. She got on every social media platform that she swore she would never get on because she wanted to see pictures of the grandkids. She learned how to, go on to Yelp and write a review. She picked up all these new skills because people haven't had a choice. I mean, unless your kids are going to do some of this stuff on your behalf. And in that case, they're still going to be using these same tools. So I always say, if you're really thinking about building a business, you want to be building a business for the future. I mean, unless you're happy having a lifestyle practice and you're serving the clients you have and you don't need to do marketing to get new clients, and then that's different. I think you're good with the clients you have, and then you're planning to retire. But for anybody who's thinking, how am I going to grow in 2021 and 2022 and beyond, then these are the strategies you need to use regardless of the age of your clients. Because if your clients aren't using these technologies, then they're going to be having a friend or a family member or a child who is going to be helping them.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions that are pertinent?
That's all I've seen so far. Thanks.
Okay. And so another thing, that is really important, if you're thinking about how does your website actually show up if someone does Google you. So again, let's say Jim tells Tom, hey, you should really go meet with my advisor. Here's the name of his company. And that person goes and looks them up. They land on their website, and what are they going to see? There's also the whole idea that you want to make sure, if your company's name is something like Lighthouse Financial and there's 20 Lighthouse Financials, that the right ones come up. So there's a formula that we use here where you should have your primary keyword first, then your secondary keyword, and then your company name. This is getting, a little bit more technical, but basically, if you have a website and when you go to search it, and I'm just going to show you really quick, you can see here how it says 20/10, the premier marketing suite for modern advisors, blah, blah, blah. If yours just said home, the Lighthouse Group, that's not going to let anybody really find you. You want to put the keywords in that you want to rank for. So this is something that whoever works on your website should help you with, to make sure that those keywords are in the right places. But what we found is that the advisors getting the most leads from digital marketing have made sure that those keywords are in the right spot, so that they're going to rank highest when someone is doing that search. So this is just going back to that Google My Business listing. I always say optimize your Google My Business listing, and people will say, well, what does that mean? So these are the things you want to do. And during the pandemic, this has become incredibly important because Google will penalize people if their hours of operation are out of date or their contact information. So if you no longer are in your physical office and that has changed, you want to update it. If your phone number or your hours of operation have changed, you want to change it. So this is the link. Remember, I told you I'd share a quick how-to. We've put together the 5 ways to claim and optimize this. It takes just maybe 20 minutes to do, but it is a game changer for making sure that if somebody searches financial advisor near me or best financial advisor San Diego, the firms that have taken care of this are the ones that are going to rise to the top of those search engine results. Okay. So I know I can't really see the questions tab at all, but I was curious to know how many people that are here in the group are creating content of some sort. So maybe you can share that in the chat, which I can see if you're able to, or put it in the questions, and I'm sure it can be shared.
And we will look at it. Yes.
Yeah, but I'd love to know,
back.
you know, are you creating any content, or do you have a content source maybe that you get content from that you share somewhere else? Because one of the things that is really interesting, and you'll see that we'll get into, is that the firms, again, that are getting the 6 to 10 or 11 or more new clients a year are sharing new content and adding it to their website at least 2 times a month. And when they are doing these things, these are the things that they have, they're making sure that they've taken care of so that it's SEO friendly. And SEO, I keep using that term just to clarify, means search engine optimized. So we're telling Google what we want people to find our site for. That's really what it means. So if you want to be found when someone searches best financial advisor San Diego, you can include those words throughout the copy in your site over and over again in your blog posts to make sure that that is what happens. So these are the recommendations. You want to add new content at least 2 times a month. Each piece of content should be 1,800 words or more. And you want to use the main and then the supporting keyword formula. So for instance, we have a client who he wrote this one piece, can capital gains push me into a higher tax bracket? That was his main statement. And then throughout the piece, he had all of these different versions of that question. So he didn't just keep writing, can capital gains push me into a higher tax bracket, but he would come up with different scenarios and then write about them. And if you search that term, can capital gains push me into a higher tax bracket, his blog is one of the top blogs or articles that you will find on the web. And he has gotten 30 new clients from that one blog post. You know, really successful entrepreneurs, executives that are, you know, just going online, that are young and tech savvy and finding this piece. So that is the formula that you want to use for content. And going back to that, adding new content twice a month. If you are creating content that, or you're using content that's not long form, maybe it's like a video or a podcast, you don't want to just add the video or the podcast. What you want to do is include a transcript of what you talk about in the video or the podcast. And the reason this is important is Google cannot crawl a video file or a podcast file and see what it's about. So if you record a 40-minute podcast or you record a 20-minute video all about capital gains taxes, you're not going to get that keyword juice to your website because the search engine doesn't know that that's what it's about. You have to tell the search engine by listing out what it's about. So what I mean by that is you would type up the notes about what you talked about, or just transcribe it all and then upload that along with the actual video or audio file together. So video, when it comes to content, original content that your team writes is best. But if you don't have original content, if this seems really overwhelming, I totally get it. It's one of the reasons that we created 20 over 10. We offer a content library service where there's tons and tons of new pieces. We had 25 new pieces every month, and you can customize the pieces for your audience. So that's one service, but there's even others out there, other services. You can hire a ghostwriter. You can find things that you are, you know, enjoying reading and share them on social media. Now, those you couldn't put on your own website, but if you find an article in the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal and you want to share it with your clients via email or social, obviously that's great. But for your website, original content is best. And so, you know, finding a service that either you can utilize or finding someone on your team to spearhead it is crucial. And a lot of people will say to me, well, what am I going to create content on? The best tip I can give is every time you meet with a client and they ask you questions, write those questions down using the language that they ask you the question in. So if they say, you know, so how is the CARES Act going to impact my retirement? the Secure Act, you can take that question and turn that into a piece of content that you're answering that will not only benefit all of your current clients, you can email it to them in your next email newsletter, but it will also benefit prospects that are searching for you or searching for those types of services online. So the same rules apply here when you're adding blogs or videos or anything. Again, everybody scans. So when I see big chunks of text like this, I cringe because nobody's going to read that. We all scan. So you want to use lots of headers in your copy to break it up and allow people to find what they're looking for. And then I thought this was really interesting because I don't see this happening a lot in our industry, which is if you can add a image once every 75 to 100 words, the article is going to be more engaging and people are more likely to share it with their friends and their networks, to share it on social media, to forward that email. So images make it seem more powerful and professional to us. So, even if you want to add in a graph, if you find an image online that you want to add into your content, adding images really, really helps people remember the content and find it interesting. And you can also, use other sources. Maybe there is, this is from Dimensional Funds, for instance, that they put out this graph where they were saying that, we could tell you that every time there's a terrible bear market, eventually there is a bull market that follows it, but it's a lot easier to show you this in a graph. And so this is a great, graph that people were including back in March when everything was so volatile and there was a huge downturn in the market. This is a great image to put in a blog post to share with, clients and prospects. So think about, any of the potential places where you can get graphs and images like this, whether it's a fund company you use, an asset manager, things like that. And so I already mentioned that 20/10 offers this service, providing content and infographics and all that good stuff. Oops, I have it just pulled up here really quickly just to show you what I mean. But there are, again, other companies too. I really just want you to share content to your website regardless. So here's just an example of what it looks like. So you can see all the different pieces of content. You can filter by the type that you might be looking for. And then there's infographics, all kinds of stuff. And what's great is when you go to share it, it also puts it on this beautiful landing page that has your picture on it and reiterates you as the author, your logo, all that good stuff. So if you're sharing it on social media or in an email, they're going to come back to a page like this so you can capture those leads, but also see what your current clients are most interested to read. So that is our lead pilot tool from 20/10. But there's other places you can look up Upwork or Writer's Access. Those are places where you can hire a ghostwriter if you don't have someone on your team to do it for you. And there's other content libraries out there as well, specific to financial services. So finding somewhere, either whether you write it yourself, hire somebody, or use a content library to get at least 2 pieces of content added to your website per month is huge. Okay, so going back to the website now. We spend a lot of time talking about content because content is how a lot of people find people. But once they do find you and they land on that website, what are they going to see? So we want people, when they land on our website, to what we call self-qualify, right? We want them to say, this is a firm that helps people just like me. And how do we do that? We want to write our copy in what I call the problem solution format. And you explicitly want to put this right on the homepage of your website. So in this example here, you can easily see that this is a firm that helps people going through divorce with their finances. And they've even, you can see up here in the top little bar, they have Quadro, which is a term people might be searching for when they are going through a divorce. So it really allows people to self-qualify. Here's another example of a firm that offers fee-only financial planning and wealth management for active and retired military members. And I love this, 100% focused on the other 1%. But the image, again, reinforces the copy, right? So even just landing on it, you know that they do something with the military based on the image alone. So that problem solution format, I know it's overwhelming to go back and look at your entire website. You want to at least get this done on the 3 most visited pages for any financial advisory firm, which are the homepage, the about or the team page, and the contact get started page, whatever you call these pages. Those are the 3 most visited pages by far. We analyze thousands and thousands of advisor sites. So go back, think about, what is that value proposition? What do you offer people? What's the problem that the types of clients that you work with have? And what is the solution you provide to those problems? Rewrite your value proposition to easily convey that, and then match a picture to go with that value proposition so that people can easily, at a snapshot, identify and self-qualify. Okay, we got 2 left. Incorporating video. So I'm sure many of you have watched more video online on your phone, on social networks, on YouTube than any other year before. And the trends are astounding by how many people are watching just, copious amounts of time on even channels like YouTube. YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine after Google. And people that are so people mentioned, clients in their 60s. There was a study by the Pew Research Center that found people age 64 and above watch at least 1 video on YouTube per week. And those 55 and above reported watching at least 5 hours per week. So you don't realize sometimes how much of what you're watching, right, is a YouTube video embedded somewhere else. And 2020 makes such a huge difference in those numbers. So how can you use video? Having a video intro on your website is huge, especially nowadays, again, where a lot of people are social distance. So if somebody's landing on your site for the first time, you can have a video that welcomes them, that allows them to see your face, hear your voice. It's just a nice way to have that kind of virtual handshake or virtual meeting where it sets them at ease and it makes them feel more comfortable. If you want to really get into creating video, which some of the most successful firms, again, are doing, you can create those blogs or that content as a video. And this is a great option if you're not a writer and it's easier for you to talk out a problem or talk out an article. You can create the video talking about it and then have someone on your team transcribe it and then upload it to your website. So this is just some examples of what kinds of videos consumers like to see most. So how-to videos are really popular, as well as top 5 or top 7, some sort of numbers. And then also, if somebody is interested in working with your firm, being able to just watch a quick video about your process, what is your value proposition, what do you offer them, is also one that will get a lot of plays. I have these 2 articles linked down here if you are interested in getting started with video this year. This one is how you can record marketing videos on a shoestring budget using, just your iPhone or your phone and a tripod. And then this one is all about YouTube specifically for financial advisors. So both of those are linked there. And, my number 1 tip for advisors in 2021 is to identify someone at your company to be the face or the spokesperson and get them on camera, because people do not connect with brands and business, they connect with other people. And so when you have someone on video over and over again in your feed or in your inbox, you start to feel this connection with them, the same way we feel a connection with people on TV, right? There's actually a psychology principle called the mere exposure effect, maybe some of you have heard of, that tells us this. The more we hear something, the more we're exposed to it, the more likely we are to rate that we, quote, like it. So you can use this to your benefit with video. And if you're also wondering what people are searching for, how can you use that to your advantage in making content or creating video? There's something called Google Trends that anyone can use. It's free. And you can look at what are people searching for in certain categories by the day. So back in March, when the market was, just tanking and people were being laid off in droves and we were going into a lockdown, what should I do with my 401k right now? You can see how through the roof that skyrocketed in number of people searching for it. And we saw some of our clients, when we told them this, create video all about what should I do with my 401k right now, and had, it just completely go viral. So many people ended up wanting to work with their firm because of the content they were creating to answer those kinds of questions. And last but not least, when you're trying to show your credibility, having what we call social proof is key. So social proof just says other people can vouch for you. And so they should, the consumer or the client should believe those other people, not just take your word for it. And a great way to do this is to include a featured in section where you showcase where your thought leadership has been or where you've been featured on. So obviously you need to have some of these things already, but again, because our brains process imagery 60,000 times faster than text, if you can include logos, that is key. So just including a smattering of logos where you've been featured is great to help somebody see you as a legitimate expert in your field. So those are the six things that advisors getting 6 to 10 or 11 or more clients per year have in common. I know that this might feel overwhelming if you are currently feeling like you're a -3 with your current marketing. Like, this is a lot to try to implement. But our firm, 20 over 10, we have all different types of products depending on where you're at. So if you're a solo person and you don't have anybody to help you with marketing at all, pairing our Lead Pilot platform with our website platform would be a great fit for you. If you are someone who has maybe someone on your team who can help go into the platform and choose content and schedule it to go out or schedule some campaigns, then that might be a good fit. We also have a marketing coach program. So we have lots of different tools to help you at really reasonable price points. If you go to 20over10.com, you can click this talk with our team button, and we'd be happy to tell you more about our services and how we can help. But I also, here at the bottom, just included our marketing email. So feel free to email me there if you'd like to chat with me directly, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that have come in while I was speaking.
So let me see. Someone asked a question regarding Google My Business with working from home. How does that work? Is there any sort of difference in that regard?
Yeah, so you might not want to put your home address in for Google My Business. In that blog post that I mentioned, I'll just find it here. We have the instructions for what to do specifically. So when you look through the guide, the slides that I send, it'll be in there. But that can fall under multi-location. Sometimes people will ask about, or if you work from home, there's ways for you to tell Google that. So Google will let you mark this is a home address, and then they kind of mask it so it's still on the map, but you can't see exactly where it is.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah. I don't think I see any more questions. Hold on one second. I don't think I see any more. So if anybody has any, hold on, somebody's hand just went up. Let's see here. No, I'm not seeing it. So, okay. So yeah, so as Samantha, I thought this was terrific. And as you had mentioned, everybody's going to get a copy of the presentation and the slides. And please feel free to reach out to Samantha. It's apparent that all of the information that was provided, if you do one thing or two things or three things, it's going to help to increase your presence and hopefully drive more traffic to your website, which will result in additional business for you. One more question. Do you have any thoughts on videos on a website versus directly on social media?
Yeah, so on your website, absolutely include video, but it should be more of a quick intro video. This is our firm, this is what we do, this is why we're passionate about this. On social media, it should be more topical. Hey, have you seen the news about GameStop? This is what's actually going on for everybody who has no idea what it means to short a stock, right? So it should be more topical on social media, whereas your website, it should be a much more of an evergreen type of content. You create it once and it lives there for a long time.
Okay. One other thing. Someone was asking an additional question on customer testimonials. Leslie, I see half a question. As seen on customer testimonials. As seen,
Yeah.
I don't understand. Maybe you know what she's referring to.
Yeah. So we did a webinar about this just the other day. It's not linked in here because you can see it's just 6 days old. But if you go to 20over blog, here, I'm just pulling it up here so you guys can see .20over10.com. You just scroll down a little bit to this one right here. You can see the SEC ad rule, 5 of the biggest marketing opportunities for RIAs. That's on our blog. I can share the link with Agency One so you can include it for everyone. But this webinar will give you everything you need to know. I did it with a great lawyer, Max Schatzo of Stark & Stark RIA Compliance. And we dove into how do you deal with testimonials, Google reviews, endorsements now with the new SEC ad rule. The rule is, the ink is not dried on the rule yet. So Biden put a freeze on everything. And once that freeze is lifted, which we do expect it to be lifted, then the rule has to go to the Federal Register, and then it's 60 more days after that till it's law. So we're not going to see the implementation of this rule for at least probably more to like late spring, early summer. But at the end of the day, you are going to be able to start adding testimonials. So if you go to 20 over 10, right, you're going to see at the bottom what others are saying. And we have all these great testimonials. Up until now, you all couldn't do that, which really was unfair in the sense for the consumer to not be able to see what other people had to say about the business. But there are some caveats to using these testimonials, and it gets kind of nuanced. We don't have time to go into all that today, but if you watch this webinar, we do go into it all. And so it's a great one to get all that info about what you need to know if you plan to start using them.
Okay. The next question was, what are your thoughts on BombBomb for sending out personal videos?
Yeah.
So a lot of our advisors use that BombBomb marketing platform.
Yeah, I like anytime you can send a video in an email rather than just a video or something someone has to read. I think it's great. To me, it doesn't, like, there's so many platforms. There's Soapbox, there's Loom, there's BombBomb. I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, I do not see any other questions. So Samantha, I want to thank you. This was terrific. I know that everybody thought that this was extremely valuable, and it's going to be very helpful to their practice. What's on for next? Next Thursday, well, actually in 2 Thursdays, February 18th at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, Agency One is going to be hosting a webinar that will focus on premium financing. Our featured speaker will be Taylor Miller, the Senior Vice President and National Director of Insurance Premium Financing from U.S. Bank. And he is going to discuss their lending platform, requirements, and highlight some of the transactions that they have recently closed. With interest rates continuing at historically low rates, premium financing has never looked more attractive for both your high net worth and business owner clients. We will also be talking about carriers that you should be considering when looking at premium financing. Also, many of you have already been invited to participate in our focused study group-like webinar tutorials, which Agency One is hosting. The first of these webinars is going to focus on IUL products. The first date, February 11th, has already filled up, and there is limited availability left for the webinars on February 17th, 23rd, and March 4th. Additional invitations to these webinars are going to be emailed tomorrow. So if you are interested, please register. And if the date that you are considering has already filled up, or if any of those dates are not convenient, please reach out to myself, Gonzalo, or Lisa, and we will work with you in your office to arrange an alternative time. These are my closing announcements for today. If you have any questions or would like additional information, please reach out to me, Gonzalo, Ed, or Dennis. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Samantha, and we hope you will join us again on Thursday, February 18th for U.S. Bank and Premium Financing. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you, Samantha. It was awesome.
Thanks, Lisa.
Bye.